This is Patricia Rose again, and this is our 6th tape that I'm making, and I'm doing something a little different, and it's all based on your requests. There's a lot of artists that are having trouble with hands, feet, fingers, and toes. So I'm going to concentrate on that for this entire video. So we're going to do a model. What I've done is I made, it's real classy looking, isn't it? It's a double wire for support. This is going to be a 10-inch doll when this is finished, and I'm doing her in parts because she is so large. What I've done first is I got the pose that I wanted. This is a straight leg, and it's just going to be like pointing its little toe out. And what's happening here is I put some regular Pro Sculpt on the actual wire, on the double wire, and I hard fired it on with the embossing gun, and then I started putting the foot on, which I'm going to show you how to do a foot, the ankle, the toes, the bottom of the foot, the whole thing. And I'm only going to go to here. But my finished doll definitely will have a leg all the way up with a little flange on it so you can attach it to a cloth body. Okay, this is the hand that I'm going to be working on, and the wire goes down to right about here. So I don't dare take any clay off the top surface of that. And we're going to talk about the joints of the hand, how it's all put together. Mine is kind of old, but it's still a woman's hand. And I'm going to map it all off for you so you know the underside, then the top side, minus the age spots and the wrinkles. And we're going to make a pretty lady's hand out of this. And remember I said it's for a 10-inch doll. Now I'm going to have to make the body of this arm and everything a little thicker because the hand is really big, because I was looking for a 10-inch, but I didn't make this thick enough. So this will change just a smidge on the final doll. And I want to show you what our finished product's going to look like somewhat. This is an 8-inch doll that I've done for my last video, and she has a hand right here. Now this one's right up against the body. The doll's quite not fired yet, so she has issues. Anyhow, but she does have a finished hand, and I'm going to show you how to do the little nails on my mock doll, my 10-inch doll. And on this 8-inch doll, I want to show you the little foot down at the bottom here. And I've got one foot finished and one unfinished at this point. And it has little nails and nail beds and everything in it. And I will show you on this tape, hopefully at the end, if we have a few minutes, how to add nail beds. So what we're doing is feet, fingers, hands, and toes. Okay, we're going to start with the hand because it is the hardest part of the two items that we're doing today. And what I've done is I've put basically a little mitten on the end of it. Okay, alright, here we go. Let's just compare them. We're going to be looking for where the joints are and how everything is in juxtaposition with each other. Big word. That means in the right locations and how they are located next to one another. Spatial relationships. Okay. First off, you're going to build this little pad right through here. We're going to build a pad right through here. We're going to make segments for our fingers. And I have eczema, so don't look at that. Anyhow, it's because I'm allergic to metal. Okay, this is a skin fold right here. These are skin folds. And if you'll notice, the palm of your hand is up higher on the arch that goes across here than it is down here. See, there's a lower, it angles back. So there'll be a few incidents where we'll have to do a little bit of this, and that's a skin fold. And this is what old age looks like. Stinks, doesn't it? Okay. And everybody's different. Sometimes you'll find this finger and this finger being exactly the same height, which doesn't matter. Mine's a little lower for some reason. But you're going to go and divide each one of those fingers on this arch into 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. And these two are kind of the same if you go straight across. And this one almost lines up with this one. Everything in juxtaposition with each other. That's what you're looking for. Now when you turn a hand over, what you're going to end up with, you're not going to be concerned with this knuckle so much, considering how small you're working. You're basically going to be concerned with the knuckles right through here. So you're going to have this plane and this plane. And if you get real fancy and you can find a position you have to scrunch it up in, you might have another plane here, but I'm not counting on it. I'm thinking we're just doing a simple hand with it out like so. You know, kind of like that. And so, straight fingers. And your knuckles will be pushed in. And we're just going to score some little lines across there to make the actual knuckle. Okay, here we go. Let's start with the underneath side. Remember what I said, the pads of the hand, that's the first part you build up after you've got your mitten. Forget about the arm, don't worry about that right now. Main thing is the mitten itself and this one little bone right here, which is up high right here, and then there's a dent right in this area. All right? Everybody puts this big bone and the dent on the other side. The bone doesn't go that way. It goes up and dents in. So we're going to do the pad and this dent. All right. I've got a sort of a little bone there, but it's not enough. Okay, that's the first thing. Dents in. Turn it to the side. And what do you, here we go. I can't even do it. Can't get turned around there. You see where the pad of the hand is? And this is the position it's going to be in more or less. So we're going to take some of this pad off. It's just a bit much probably for our doll. But it does have one. And like I said in my last video, don't over-exaggerate. Just indicate, because too much information on these little tiny dolls is it's really hard to get it nice and smooth and neat looking and professional looking, so just give them the skinny on it. Okay, first thing I want to do after I've got the two pads in is put the lifeline in. And mine's really, really long. I guess I'll be around for a long time making these videos and books. Let's hope so. Okay, and look at where the skin fold is and where I've just put my arch. Okay, so my thumb is going to be further down on where that arch comes through here. See what I just did? Okay. Thumb goes, let's just make it sticking out there in limbo for right now, because we don't need to deal with it until we've got most of the rest of the hand done. Okay. And it's going to have a whole bunch of detail in it, but that'll do for now. Okay. All right, let's put the arch right here in, and good measurement on it is, if you'll notice, the length of your finger from here to there is almost the same length, if I've got my fingers now, to there. See, it's a little bit further down, so I'm just counting on doubling it, all right? So that means this would be basically at the half mark, roughly. Okay, so a little bit higher. So I'm going to make a little arch. And that is the basis for all of what we're going to do today. Let's see, da-da-da, no, it's up, down too far. And it doesn't have to be a big arch or a deep arch, because that won't look too realistic. Remember, keep it simple. Okay, we've got another line that goes across here. Let's make a depression. And put our, let's see, how's that go? Okay. There. Depression starts right in there. And there we have, this is heavier padded here, padded right here. And so what I've got is exactly that. I've got padded through here, padded here. This is probably a little too puffy. We're going to square it up just a smidge. Okay. line that comes right across here. And it dips in right here. Comes out. It's going to go in. Okay, let's get to the fingers. All right. They taper quite a bit at the ends, and we've got like lots of joints to deal with. So we're going to just make it simple. You can do this on your desktop or your worktop if you want, but I'm just going to do it in the air here because I think I'm so stinking good, but I'm not. Since I do this, I'll have problems. Okay, and let's see, we want to make long fingers, just a little bit more perhaps. Okay, and see how, let me just show you, see how the whole hand arches in like this? It's narrow through here and wider at the bottom. Even with the thumb totally off, you're going to see that it's wider through this area here. So, have we got that? If you put the fingers together, I don't have that. That means that I'm going to have to cut. So, best thing to do is make your center line first, then cut, thinking that, okay, your fingers are close together, and you're going to want to make it in that shape, arched, narrower at the top. There you go. That gives you a little bit better basis. And I think my fingers are a little on the thick side, but I'm not going to worry about it right now because I can pull on them and make them thinner. Okay, so go ahead and cut down the centers of those. And if you notice you pull this way, it drags out that way, which is probably a better way to cut it even on your own finger. So, and try not to cut too deep because you might have got some real skin in there. Okay. And so, let's just not worry about the joints because we've got to work on the front side of it as soon as we get all of them cut again. Now they're free form of one another. Starting to look like a hand almost, isn't it, guys? Starting with a mitten. Okay, let me turn it around, and you can see, hopefully, there's this tiny little speck right there. That is the actual wire trying to protrude. So we know we're going to have to deal with this thing, all right? So I want pose my hand to be pushed more up like this. So whenever you see the wire, that means it's not in the right position because I posed the wire underneath and have it right where I want it. I'm going to trim off some of the ugly stuff. Okay. And I'm going to trim down. Remember I said that the fronts, there's the skin folds right here, and you're going to angle some. So let's just do this. Let's separate our fingers. Don't worry, if you've got the right clay mix, you're not going to lose a finger. I've mixed with this, the perfect, I told you in the last video, if you got it, on how to do a sexy lady. I mixed transparent Fimo with Pro Sculpt, and it's 8:1. Okay, see where I'm going. I'm going to thin them out. Obviously, they're not going to be square, so this is a time when you can, if you separate them like this, you can round them out. And of course, they're going to get long when you do it because, trust me, these fingers are too fat anyhow. So I'm going to put one out this way, one out this way. This is how you can operate on them. Don't use your sculpting tools. All I've used so far is a knife. Sculpting tools are coming. Give it a little bit though. You can do a lot with your fingers. A lot with your fingers. Okay. Now look for little places where it's kind of rough in between them and everything, and fix that. Okay. Back down to the knife. Turn the back side of the knife, the plain side. Smash them down a little bit. Okay, let me see. Looking pretty ugly. Let me turn it around. Ooh, scares me. Oh my gosh. Alright, so we're going to, now that we've got that, we're going to judge who's thick and who's thin. And I'm seeing that this one is still too thick. So I want nice, thin, pretty fingers. I'm going to pull on the end. Don't pull from down here because you want to keep it fat right in this area right here. Okay, so just barely pull. You press, squeeze it down a little bit, and then just lightly pull on the end. And just a little too much there, so I'm going to push back down on it. It's going to soften it up and make it hard to work with, but we can do it. And nip it off. There we go. And that's the longest one, remember? This one's just a little bit shorter than that one. So here it's too long still, so cut it. Okay, this one's too fat. So don't mess with the base too much, just get the end of it. Sometimes if you think it's pulling too much away from the base, hold on to it while you pull. So you lightly pull on the end and nip it off. And I think it's probably still too thick. This is a really tricky thing. Hands are the hardest thing to do on a doll for me. Faces for some other people, but believe me, by the time they master faces, they're going to realize hands are even harder. Oh boy, they are. Okay, this is, I'm going to have to pull from the top. And it's shorter than that one beside it. And it's still too long. Pull a little bit more. Somebody asked me on eBay, why don't you show pictures of your hands and your feet? I said, well, I do, but I don't have a real good camera. Well, I went out and bought a brand new camera. So I want to show you girls and guys, I really can do this. And so you know what you're getting when you buy a doll from me, based on the photos. Okay, we're to the point where we're going to need tools now. We got all this done. Let's see what it looks like from the front. Still kind of weird. Still kind of long on the little finger. It's still kind of fat, so that's why I cut it a little short there. And this is going to be a 10-inch doll. Look how small that hand is. Oh my gosh. Okay, and we're going to put it in a graceful pose on top of all this. So, a little bit more. The little finger is tiny. Okay, and what you want to do is the nail beds. See my nail? It's flat on the surface here and rounded here. So when you're doing this, the best thing to do at this time is round up the back side of that little finger. Ooh, it's hard to get a hold of. And flatten the front side. So you're actually making an area where the nail bed can be pushed in. Still looks pretty bad. Okay, time for tools. Okay, there's several different ways you can do this. Where I like this particular one is I call it my nail tool. You can do neat things like this with it. Anytime you get a little bit of debris on the end of your tool, wipe it off, because if you carry it on from one area to the next, it's going to deposit there and you're going to have to deal with it then. Turn it over. Remember what I said, the skin fold goes down this way. By doing this, we're actually designating where our knuckles are going to be. Because see, there's a bone, a tendon and everything that comes right through here. This is a bone, and there's the knuckle. See, it's up higher. There's a skin fold right there before you get to the knuckle. Everybody thinks the knuckle's right here. It's down lower. So, okay, let me get my sculpting tool, and we're going to make mock See, I got my skin folds, okay? So my knuckles are going to be high here and high here. You're going to look at this hand, and no, it's ugly, but when you kind of do this with your knuckles, you're going to see, knuckle-wise, you're going to see this one is the primary one. This one sticks out quite a bit, and look, it's got a double thing going there. And that's not arthritis, that's pretty normal. Okay, and then two flatter ones that don't protrude quite as far. So even when it's flat, these two seem to dominate. Okay, so we're going to put our little skin folds in. Now all this will be smoothed out with brushes, and you're just going to love how it looks. Absolutely love how it looks. Okay. We're going to, the knuckle is up higher, so see, I saw, look, I can see that little spot coming up right again there. That means the wire is coming through, so I'm going to push this thing this way because I don't want the wire protruding. And I'm going to push in on the sides just a little bit, make that skin fold area just a little deeper, and indicate my knuckles. See how far down I've got them. And this one's kind of non-existent, but it's, you know, we'll put some little indication of a depression there or something, because it's going to be up like this when we do it anyhow. Okay. I'm loving this. This is not so bad after all. Just some days are harder. And doing hands attached to the doll, holy Toledo, it's really hot. It's really hard to do. And the key to making anything look real are these tiny little brushes. They are so nice. And it has debris on it, but we'll live with that for now. You smooth things in. Now, if you look at your skin folds, not only there, but where they, even on a young hand, okay, it's actually going to have a line that goes this way and a line that goes this way. And when you turn it around, you know, this one's really pretty deep and this one's pretty deep, but they feather out, see? Here it's kind of in the center, but there's a line that moves this way and a line that moves this way. And the same thing for your body, your under your arms and, oh gosh, everywhere. So we have to indicate that little line, and I will use this tool to do it with. Yep, see, it's right over top. And then take your brush and feather it in. We don't want to make it too pronounced. Just indicate. Okay. And then we have depressions in here. And I've seen some really good hands on eBay, and I've seen some really bad hands. The good ones have all this extra little stuff. So here you go. And they go towards this right here. They angle towards this. See the bones? Right through there, like a fan. And you can make them deep to start with, but then you have to go back. So the best thing to do is just do it with a brush. You don't need a tool. And don't make them too deep to begin with at all. And it's just a line. It's a tiny little bone. And it's not like a big trough. Well, this part is, but this part is not like a big high plane, rather. And it's a little bitty line on the top. And you're only going to really indicate the two in the middle. And that means you're going to have 1, 2, 3 little troughs to deal with. And I have this one little brush that's all sawed off, which is, boy, it's my good facial brush for making things. And it just feathers everything in so pretty. The other one is for up around the eyes and stuff like that, and in between little places like this. You never want to let the shaft of the paintbrush hit your work, because then you have another line you have to get rid of. So you just kind of feather it around. Now it's looking like a hand already. We haven't got to the thumb yet. Okay, let's go back and figure out where on the back side of the hand where all these joints go now. Alright, let's start with the one in the middle because everything's pretty much based off the middle of it. Separate them out a bit, just a bit. So we gotta make sure everything's round now. Okay, and they all kind of look almost equal, but they're not quite. This one's a little longer than this one, but that's okay. We're going to do the best we can to indicate that, but if you don't worry. I use the back side of my blade because it's not as sharp, so I'm thinking, okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've made this one a little bit longer. I don't know if you can see that. I sure hope you can, because when we get to fingernails, you're going to wish you can see on this film. Okay, so here I go. There you go. And I'm going to turn the finger sideways. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to tip it this way. Too much is an over-exaggeration. Okay, and where it is bent here, turn around the other side. And the actual joint, okay, let me show you on my hand once again. The actual joint where you bend it, right there, looks like, on the outside of this, it looks like it's halfway through the whole finger. But look where it is bending, from the knuckle, okay? And the bend line is right underneath of it in certain places, but half the time it's not really. It's kind of up above it. And that's strange how it does. So even though it's got a depression here and it's not half of the finger, it's only 1/3 of the finger, it's half on the outside of your finger. Alright? So be looking for little things like that. That's tiny information. That's the most valuable that you can get. Alright? So what I'm going to do, since I have that bend line, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to know, based on where it's bending, I'm going sideways here. Okay, that is where the actual bend is going to be, where the knuckle is going to be. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to smooth it up into that area with the side of my blade. Most tools will work, but this seems to get in there a lot easier. Okay, and I have a bend. Okay, it's kind of hard to look at, but it's the correct way to do it. Okay, and if you want this one here to bend, this is going to be kind of where it is. I'm going to double line it here. Two little lines on the back side of your blade make these indications. You could do it with your nail tool also, but my nail tool is not in my hand right now. I sculpt with whatever's there. Okay, this line right here is going to make a bend. Back side of your tool. Then to make a flat plane and turn it up. Not quite there on this, but we're close. There we go. It's kind of weird looking. And if you're looking at it like this, you know it's not straight, so you're going to be looking for things trying to get them perfect. Alright, but because that's kind of gnarly, we're not going to do that. We're just going to show you where it goes in case you want to do something like that. Or you've got a pose that you may have a finger doing a little something different. Okay, there's that one. Okay, and this is the way you go through the whole hand. It takes a while, but we're moving pretty fast. Okay, let's do the next finger over. We're going to turn it on the back side. We've got the bends, remember what I said, and you do the juxtaposition thing. So this line on this middle finger looks like it might be in the middle of this next finger down, the one that we're working on now. So you're looking at 3 separate places that you have to indicate by 2 lines. And so you just put them on a little bit on the top of that, a little bit on the bottom of that other line. Okay, so hold it up straight. Okay, we got this one and this one. Did I do that right? Let me look. Oh yeah. That means this finger's too long. See, that's how you tell. And it was too long. You don't know till you're there. Okay, now we've got our bin line already, which is here. And I'm going to turn around and kind of look for it. There it is right there. And I'm going to bend the finger right there. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. So I have pity on all the artists that are really doing beautiful hands, because we all have to go through this same process, and it's miserable sometimes. Sometimes you have smaller hands you're working on. Try not to do small dolls till you feel a little more confident. Try to stay in a 8 to 10 inch range. And they are easier if you do them separate of the doll. Do them flat on the work surface. I've showed how to do that in one of my other videos, and it works just fine. But you know, you got to be real careful taking and getting it on the doll. So, and that's one of those applications where you would actually finish your doll off, and you would go ahead and make an arm, and you would make the wire out to here, but then you would make it the clay that you fire when the first firing a little bit narrower right through here, more like a pencil point. And you fire the doll, and then you go back and you clean the doll up with scraping and everything else to make it smooth, and then you put the arms on, and you're working on, just like I've done here, a stable base underneath that's fired, and so it's not going to be so hard. And can you imagine trying to, and I've done it, everybody's done it, where you're trying to do an arm and it's wiggling all over the place, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm trying to do these fingers, I can't hold the arm, I can't hold the whole doll. It's really, really hard. So the best thing is do the arms and stick them on later. Do the hands rather. Okay, now that one's done. But let me show you how to hold your hand in position. Don't look at that eczema. Oh, it's so bad. I'm allergic to metal, and I've been in dishwashing detergent and metal tools and everything lately, and my hands are all broke out, and it would be time to make a video. Okay, I'm going to smash the ends of that like so. Okay, and now I'm going to be working on my little finger. Here we go with the map here again. Look where that one is, straight across, and that one's just a little bit higher than the arch that we made. So, okay, we're going to go straight across, and yep, pretty much straight across. It's a little higher, and holy Toledo, it looks like it's really far down there. Let me look at this again. Ah, you know what we've done, what I've done. You didn't do it. The arch is lower here. See, juxtaposition. So my arch has to be down here. So now I know why the heck that didn't work. And see, I can't remember this right off the bat. I have to look. Believe me, once you know the anatomy, never take it for granted. Keep studying it. Don't think you can figure it out just from memory, because memory dolls look like memory dolls. They don't look like something you looked at a picture and done. Okay, now, okay, so that means holy Toledo. Look at here. We got this one. We got this one basically, and that finger is too big. Guess what? It's going away. Okay, and we're going to have an accurate hand now. Okay, we've got our bend right there. We're going to make a little line on the sides so I can follow it around. Go back here, make our bend line. This is where our knuckle's going to be. So I'm going to find that my this knuckle is too high up because of the bend line on the back. I mean the arch line. So here that comes down like so. It's in there somewhere, but we don't need to indicate it right now. Okay, here's your bend line. So you're going to have your finger, your fold line, that thing, going down a little bit more It's hard to talk and do this at the same time. Duh. Okay. It's not too bad. I keep seeing lots of tissue that doesn't need to be there. And the more you do it, the more you're going to see that that's right too. And see, there's a little indication here. We got to put all that in yet. So I'm going to nip it off just a smidge. Try not to get too close to where that wire is. It's right about there. Okay. So while you're over there, and we saw that little divot, let's just stick it in. I don't know whether that's old age line or what the heck it is, but it's kind of cool. It works. I'm impressed with it. We can do this. And just follow around. Yeah, looks good. Okay, we're going to do our pointer finger now. What do we got here? We have 1, 2, 3 planes, and they are in the middle of this again. And I think our arch is probably a little lower than maybe what I have it. Aren't they always? Okay, we got one up above that line and one below that line. I think the one up above is just a little bit higher, and this one's right about here. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing that the distance between this is not right. So what's that mean? We gotta take this down a little bit here and nip off the finger on the top there. And I'll use the front side of the blade, which has the sharp end. Okay. And who would have ever guessed you go through all this? But you do. So, okay. Stylists are nice for some of these things, but they don't clean up as they're going. They just kind of haggle the work around it. The brushes are the best thing. Anytime you can, use the brush. It just brushes the debris right down into itself. To make it look real, the brushes are everything. And then if you really look at your fingers, they actually are kind of square. They are flatter here on the sides and rounder. That's strange, isn't it? So based on how we cut it and how we shaped it, they came out pretty good, like fingers should. I'm a poet and don't know it. Okay. The hardest part is the fingernails, because you want to get them pretty. See, I've got this little finger on the end. It's too bulbous. The cuts are too deep. I don't know if the camera can see them, but the cuts are too deep. So what I want to do is smash the whole thing. And that makes the cuts not so deep. And some of the fat on the end of the finger is pushed down into the rest of the finger. Still not shaped pretty, but I'll show you how to shape them pretty soon. Okay, now clean up what you can. Remember, that's lower in the front and higher in the back. Keep your little fold that goes this way. Don't lose that. Okay, that leaves us a thumb to deal with, doesn't it? Okay. There is a little bit of fat tissue right here, but if you'll notice, it's pretty loose. It's caved in. If you extend it out, it looks like bat wings, doesn't it? Oh, how ugly my hand is. They used to be so pretty. I used to have real long fingernails, but forget about fingernails if you're going to try to sculpt. I know I've got some now and I'm miserable with them. I'm going to cut them off tomorrow. Okay, but see, you got the knuckle here for your thumb. You got a joint here, so you're going to work with one. It's a curved plane. Curved, straight, straight. It goes down to where it comes around here. So there's your juxtaposition indication. All right, we're going to take and go around that way. Okay, nope. Here's where we go. And we want to, since we got our little road map there going, we're going to look and see what it's doing. It's not curved flat out here. It's curved flat out here. It's different. You know, when you're looking from the side, and I'm looking right here, I think I have too much pad. I can see where I have too much pad on my doll's interior pad here. So I'm going to fix that in a little while. But first I'm going to try to get enough clay in the places I need them. And I'm going to work on this knuckle and this part right here. So I'm going to flatten out this area that goes to there. Oh, and wait a minute. See where it goes? Angle a line, imaginary line going this way, and the skin fold, when the hand's closed, it folds in like that. Hands open like that, but the knuckle is just below the actual length of the skin fold. So, okay, here's my skin fold. I'm just going to make a little bit of a Perry the Flying Squirrel kind of, oh my God, that goes back, doesn't it? Shows you how old I am. I remember that movie. Okay, there's my skin fold. And where would my knuckle be, folks? I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to find the knuckle right there. And that leaves me a flat area going south. And I'm going to take this little skin fold down some more too, because it kind of goes up. Hey, look what we found. We found another little line. Okay, where was that again? Okay, it goes, it's where the bones go, right? And it goes right there. Who would have ever guessed? You never noticed that, I'll bet you, did you? Well, I didn't until recently either. Okay, see? There it is. We got our knuckle. Now we're going to go and get the other knuckle. And if you hold your hand sideways like this, and continue your knuckle around, look, it kind of lines up with the other two, doesn't it? So that one's easy. So we're going to put our thumb with our skin fold a little longer, because I think it's up higher than that. Because see, here's those other knuckles, and there wasn't even enough thumb going that direction. So here it is, up higher, and that leaves us from that knuckle to this knuckle a flat plane. It's looking kind of wicked. On the back side of the thumb, we've got joints just like we had up here. Okay, we've got one, technically two. I mean, there's three if you really want to get down into it. There's one here, there's one here, but we're only going to put that one and this one in, because this is just where the skin fold is, and we can just make it dropped and that'll cover it. Okay, let's put our thumb out this way. And I will have to trim off some clay, because well, maybe not. Let me see. Okay, the way I'm looking at it is I put it close to my hand like this. The actual segment here is lower than the knuckle on the front side. See what I'm saying? So I know where my knuckle is on the front side, right there. So that means I'm going to make the thing a little bit lower here. And I'm going to take some of that clay, which is too much, too bulky right there, and lower it into that area. This is tricky business. Oops. Okay. And I'm seeing where I've got a lot of fat up here that needs to be thinned out. Well, we can just put that on the top of the back side of the thumb, where it's kind of doesn't have a lot. Okie dokie. Let me see what we got here. We got thinned here, knuckle here, knuckle there. Okay. Turn the thumb. Look at that. I've seen some really ugly ones that are out like that, but this is moderately feminine, and the hand will be feminine when we pose it. We've got to get all the information right first, then we'll pose it. Okay, now we're going to do our fingernails. We've got the hand roughed in, frightening as it is. It looks like a claw. Make a great back scratcher right now. Okay, I use several tools for this. I use this little nail tool. This is a paint pickup tool, and it is wonderful for a lot of things. Right now, it's going to do a little bit of our detailing. We're going to put this little line back in. I lost it somehow. Okey-doke. And just do a few little touch-ups. But our main purpose in this one is to put the actual nail bed. Okay, nail beds. This is a nail bed. This is what we're going to do with the nail tool. We're going to do the knife, we're going to make this piece and this piece. And with the brush, we're going to extend it out some to make what would be like a curled under end of the finger and a flat nail bed on the surface that you can do with a brush. Okay, now just be really careful. You don't want really big nail beds. Let me see if I can get this in a position where the camera can see it well. Because it's really hard to do. Okay, and if you push down too hard, you're going to change the backside detail. So you don't want to do that. So you just barely touch it with this thing. And I'm just going to make a little line on the top where I think it's going to be right now. And while I've got that same little finger in that position, I know where the joint is going to be. I'm going to make a tiny little line or two that indicates where my joint is. And I'm going to push the finger up a little bit more, squeeze in, because it's got a little problem going on there. Okay, now, same finger. I'm going to take the sharp side of my blade with crud on it and make a line on each side of that nail tools line. And I don't know if you can see that, but hold on a minute. Here comes the brush. Doesn't take much. Alright, there is what you're going after. A real dainty little nail bed with a raised surface right here and a depression on each side. And it looks like she's got those French nails on because it's raised bed in the center. And while you're there and you've got the brush going, just feather up the knuckle. Just a little bit. Feather this part rounder. And this part flatter on the side right here so that the knuckles doesn't look like I'm doing anything, but believe me, I can see it. I've got 400 glasses on. And that is a perfect finger. I lucked out. Okay, and so we've got one perfect little finger, and I don't want to touch it and mess it up. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make the rest of the fingernail rather, the same way. Remember what I did? I took and scored it across the top lightly. You can make scores on the sides too, but try to round out the finger before you get to the nail part, the actual putting the nail on. Round it out. Okay, what happens is this really good combination of clay, and I'm taking the sharp edge of this, pushing down on it, the really good combination of clay makes it so much easier to sculpt. And look what kind of detail I can get in this thing. And the same thing is happening. Got a perfect little nail bed. And you brush it down. And then you brush the bottom of it up to round it up. You can't really brush too hard. You might have to just pad it just a smidge. Alright. And while you're there on that finger, playing with it, let's redefine the joint. Okay. And you're just going to pad in. You know how your knuckles, you think your knuckles are always bigger, and the older you get, you see more knuckles, and more bone and you don't see so much flesh. Well, that makes, basically what I'm saying is it's going to be thinner on both sides of the finger, on both halves, right here, right here, right here, and right here. And the knuckle is going to stick out a little more predominant. This is going to feather into it. And don't worry if it looks like it's twisting all around. You're just trying to get the details smoothed out, and you can always move this. See, I've got the nail in now. I can just push it back into position anywhere I want it now. But you don't want to mess with the ends of the nail beds once you get them right. See, those two are good. So it's a no touchy-touchy. Okay, because it doesn't take much to mess them up. Okay, here we go. One more. Oh, what the heck, I'm right here. I must do both of them. Usually I fly through this. Oh, I'm dragging it out a little bit more because I got to show you how to do it. Remember, don't get the nail bed too high. You can always erase it, you know. And here we are with our sharp side of our blade on both sides. And you want to leave a little bit of flesh showing on each side of where you cut. So that means don't make that nail way over to the sides because it's not a feminine thing. Not a feminine thing. There's nails like that, but you don't want those on your dolls. If you're making girl dolls anyhow. Guy dolls, I haven't got a clue. I will be making some this fall, so I'll let you know how that goes. And we're hoping to make a video on how to sculpt a man since I figure out how to do it. Because I don't do it very often. Most of my guys look like girls. Oh my God, it's embarrassing. But I'm thinking that, we're going to do some really masculine ones. And I'm going to have a mold pretty soon out with all the muscle tone in it. Because basically it's the same thing as a woman. If you've got pictures, you just go by what you're looking at and not what you think you see. But just keep it like the picture, and you can sculpt anything. You have to be very attentive to detail, and that's how you get better. And detail are what your customers or your relatives or whoever you're going to give these things to are looking for, and that they may think you're a real great artist that way. You put some realistic looking stuff in there. You'll really impress everybody once you can do these hands, let me tell you. Alright, I'm going to have to move this one down to smush it in because it's just a little bit too fat. Drive me nuts. There we go. Okay, same thing for the thumb. We're getting close to being done. We'll be on the foot before you know it. Depression. See where the knuckle is on the finger. Your nail bed's pretty much close to it. Here's our knuckle. And relationship to it, we've got about that much space. We're going to put that little nail tool in there. Cleans it up real nice. And then to round out the top of the bed, we take the sharp side of the blade and push down. And baby, that is all there is to it. If you want to get real fancy, and the doll's bigger, you might do it. You can take the blade and just make a line underneath of the outside of the nail. You're not going to see it unless you get in there with a magnifier or a microscope even. Okay, let's pose the hand and make it feminine. Okay, the way I've got this arm, and the arm's got to have some more clay on it, obviously. You can see where it's too narrow through here, based on how big of a hand I want. I'm going to have it to where she's just, like this, with the wrist. Just a little bit up, not too much. And a little bit out. A ballerina pose. If any of you took ballet, you have always got your two fingers in the middle, kind of together. Now I got a little space going on there, but I'm going to scrunch them together just as much as I dare do it. There we go. Alright, I've got them smashed together some. Okay, and you want to do all you can to smooth out the top surface of them, and if you push a little bit forward, you're going to see the knuckle in the joint where it's flattening out. Isn't that pretty? That's better. Okay. Alright, this one has still got a little bulge to it. Finish that out. And I'm going to put it up. Make it stick out on its own. A real breaker offer there. That's what I call them. Yeah. But if you use the right combination of clay, and this is the right combination, and you fire it harder, and sometimes I fire them longer than you would believe. You get brave after a while, especially if you have a convection oven. Ooh, yeah. So I'm going to actually make this one bent at the joint. Just a little. I hate to touch that nail. Ooh. Just a little bit. Bring it in towards the other one. Still a little manly looking. So I'm going to thin it out a smidge more. Bring it back up. Sometimes they go short on you. You get them where you think they're supposed to be, and you end up looking at them and they say, oh my God, it looks shorter than it started out. So they grow and they shrink. So be aware of that, and just because it's still in the same place doesn't mean that it's the same size. You might have bumped it or pushed on it too hard when you were doing the nails or something and affected the length of it. Oh, well, I'm getting there, but it ain't there yet. See, you can play with it a certain amount and not really mess it up, but don't touch that nail. That, at this point, is a little hard to get back. I keep turning it, and that's what you have to do to look for a ladylike pose. Okay, I think I'm about to get it. Bring it in just a little bit more. It's more feminine that way. Okay, this finger. Up a little higher. Tip it under just a bit. Let's see, the thumb. Thumb looks like it's in pain. We can push the thumb down a little bit. Whoops, we lost our little joint. You know how to get it back now, don't you? Yep. Too much pad under there. But that's okay. It's not going to affect anything, and I want as much tissue on this thing as I can get to make it stronger. So, okay. Turn it every which way but loose. Make sure that it is visually appealing, and you'll know when you're looking at it, you'll say, something doesn't look right. What could that be? Well, just keep working at it. Either it's got too much clay in an area, or not enough clay in an area, and generally that's what happens when you can't figure out what's wrong with it. Too much or too little. You can add on clay or take off clay. Okay, I'm going to do just a few more little things to make the knuckles more defined. And this hand is done. See, my knuckle's growing on. It's going the wrong way on me. And I think what my deal is, I'm looking at it sideways, and I think this hand from here to here might have a little too much clay. Like I said, couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and there it was. That was what was wrong. So, you know, of course I gotta fix things. Come back in. Remember, that was the knuckle that was high somewhat. This one was the highest, and here it is right there. Do this thing in the middle here. Try to keep the stuff off the end of your brush because it builds up on your doll. And don't do what I did. I take and use the brushes to paint with on occasion, and then I never get the paint off, and I wonder when my clay gets dirty. Oh, duh. Oh, I'm getting my knuckle back. Oh, I'm getting it. Okay. I'm going to call that, with the exception of the arm being incorrect, and some more feathering with the brush, you'll smooth out. You'll just get all this out. I'll call that finished. Okay. Okay, here we are, and now we're going to make a foot and some toes. I've started this, and it's kind of like what I did with the little mitten earlier. I shaped it in the form of a foot. I put it in the pose. This is hard fired up here, so it's not going to shake around and give me a lot of trouble. I put it in a pose where she's kind of pointing her toes, and this is a 10-inch doll, once again, and I do not have it perfect because I wanted to show you what you needed to do. So toes aren't the only thing I'm showing you. I'm showing you the whole foot. First thing you want to do is you make the heel. The heel is narrower at the back end than it is at the front end. Important. Okay? You're going to want to where's my tool? There it is. Okay. You're going to want to put a line across here, a line across here, just a couple. You could smooth them out with a brush later and make them more detailed. But right here, the back side of a bone, or the dip between the two bones. That's a dip place. Here is a bone. Here's another one. Smooth it out. I'm not going to spend time doing that. But, okay. Take that, push it to the sides. There's the heel. Okay. Then, the outside ankle is lower on the foot than the inside ankle. I've said this a number of times in my other films, but for those of you that didn't get it, there's that information. Okay, I'm going to smooth this down some, and it's higher here, and that ankle bone is level with this right here. Skin fold, one of those. I got a lot of those on your body. Okay, you don't want it sticking out too far, and it sticks out just a little bit at the bottom, like so. Then it caves back in, all the way around. But you're going to leave that little depression in the back side. So here's where we're going so far. It's still kind of bulbous. You need to tone it down just a smidge. Everything needs to be toned down on a body when you're sculpting it. Less is more information, folks. Okay. Arch of the ankle. There's quite a bit of it actually on a foot. I was looking at my own foot. I don't have a foot to show you or a picture to go by, but I'm showing you how you can sculpt one, and it'll be pretty accurate. Inside arch, like so. You've got fat pads just like on the back side of your hand. You've got a fat pad basically, which is your heel here. Flatten it out and make it pretty. You've got a fat pad along the side here. You've got a fat pad up here. You need a little more clay. That's too much clay. Work it in real quick. And just like the palm of your hand, it's all in an arch. The highest point is right here. And that's the middle toe. It comes down here, and you have a bone that sticks out on the side here. So you're going to have this kind of joint right here, like a knuckle. See? It's kind of big, but I'm just indicating. I'm over-exaggerating once again to show you where it's indicated. Same thing for like the palm of your hand. You know, right here you have this depression right here. You're going to have one basically right in the center. Put a lot more fat on this side right here and narrow it out right through the center, just like the center of your palm of your hand. And if you've ever seen your footprints in the sand, you're going to end up looking with, you're going to see toes, you're going to see this, this, and what looks like this. And that is why, because this part does not touch the sand. So you make it really nice and deep. And that's how you get that cute little footprint. Okay, let's go back and look at. So we got that one ankle, and then we're going to put the other one in. And the other one is, okay, here's your skin fold on the back side of your heel. Well, this ankle is lower, but not by a whole bunch. But it is lower than this one. Remember, this one was level with the skin fold. If you're turning it sideways, it's pretty much right there. Is the ankle bone. Okay, this one's a little bit lower than the skin fold, so it's right down here. And you want to continue this depression that we made on the back side around towards the front. And this one really takes up a lot of the front of the foot. And you would not notice that normally, but now that you're sculpting it, you're going to notice all kinds of things you didn't know about your foot before. And look at this. Look how much I'm taking out of there. And you're thinking, she's crazy. Where the heck is she going to put all that clay? Nope, it's the way it goes. Okay, now the top of the foot is too big. We'll come back and detail that more, but let's get the basics in first. I'm going to take some of this out. Okay, and narrow the top. All different kinds of feet, but we're going to make what I think is a feminine foot. I have kind of normal looking feet, you know, just kind of generic looking, not too fat, not too skinny, but my favorite are real thin toes. Oh, they're so feminine. With lots of red nail polish on them. Wish I had those. But, okay, now we're looking at the ankles and make sure that this one's higher, just by a little bit, than this one. I hope you can see that. Okay, still we've got more to take out in the front. Whoa, look at that. See that ankle? It's really protruding out there now. Now you can see it. Thin this all out and make it pretty later, but bone comes straight down the center there. It's high on the top. Look right here. It's high on this top right here. And it's really taken away right in this area. I would say if you had to give me an actual measurement to go by as far as the length of the toes and things, then I would say that they are approximately 1/5 from here to here. And let's see, there's the next measurement, there's the next measurement, there's the next measurement, there's the next measurement. That's how long they are, 1/5 of the bottom of the foot. And that's how you know where the toes go. So you start with the bottom of the foot basically, or you rough the foot in rather, and then you start with making those that way. Okay, this is still too big. Lots of carving off the top of the foot. Okay, it's still too big. The highest point is right here. And the ankle's too big still too. But all this stuff is in refining stage later on. But we're just blocking it in. Don't even bother to smooth it out at this point until you think you got it the way you want. A lot of times if you sculpt a figure, sometimes I just block the whole thing in just with a knife. I'll sculpt with a knife until I get it the way I want it. See what I'm doing? And then I go and smooth it all out, because then I've got something to work with. Okay, I'm still cutting. I made it like a big mitten, that's what I did. This is going to be for a 10-inch doll. It's really big through the front right now, so I'm going to start narrowing it, because the heel is narrow but not that quite wide right here. So we're going to start carving off the bottom half. Better. I'm not going to take too much off the ends yet, because I'm going to have quite a bit on the big toe. And I'm going to have to shift clay around when I get to detailing the other toes. And it all kind of goes like that to the side. Everything goes towards the big toe, and the big toe goes towards this. Remember, like I told you in the first part of this film, the hand, how it, gosh, got clay. Hand, how it narrows here, and it's wider here. Basically, the foot is the same thing. It's real narrow here, and real narrow here, and wider towards this part right here. Then you have the toes. So, okay, and you keep turning it around once you know the anatomy. And you need to study this, by the way. I'm not going to give you everything here. I'm just going to show you how to sculpt. That doesn't mean I'm showing you where the muscles are, especially if you're going to try to sculpt something manly. I'm just roughing it in. I'm going to thin it up right through here. Okay. Okay, there is depression. If you're looking at the side of the foot here, highest point here, comes down real low here. It almost falls off sharp here with like very little clay. That's where the little toe's going to be. So. We're getting sort of close to being where we can put toes on, but got to get the basics right first. There is a wire on the interior of this. It may give me some trouble. I'm hoping not. See, I got a little wire there. Yeah, it's not good. But let's hope we can keep it in the big toe. See, it's kind of right there, and then you know now that the big toe is going to be angled more towards the center, and it's not going to be like sticking out on the side where, over here, so the wire can be in that big toe if I'm very careful. But I'm going to have to chop on it some more. Remember what I said, there's a bone coming out this way, so you want to angle everything that way. Like that. And we have too much tissue. It's going to be a mighty fat doll if we don't take some of it off. Okay, let's see what we got. Still too fat, but I think it might work. Let's get down and see if we can figure out where that wire is at so we can work around it. I kind of need it for support, but if all else fails, I'll pull the clay back and dig it out. But, okay, here we go. Cut down into it. There's our arch. Let me see. Ooh, we're going to have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. I have a little bit of hard clay fired down in there for support. That's kind of in the way. But I think I got it out. Just enough for what we need for the toe. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to angle this a little bit more. Now, flatten out these. You wanted to leave the big toe round and bulbous, kind of. Here we're going to carve down on the top of the big toe some to get it, but we need it round right through here. And you're going to have a toe stem. Make it a little bit more like that. It's working. And the foot is basically like the palm of the hand, where you have a skin fold, and you have the top surface of it will have more skin fold because there's a pad on the bottom, so it's angled once again. Just like this is, here would be the bottom of your foot, and here would be the top of your foot. So you're going to have these depressions and knuckles on the top of the foot. It's interesting how we're made. And so that is, this would be a toe stem. Okay, so I'm going to turn it upside down, and we're going to whack it off some more. You never know how much you need to cut until you get everything laid out. Big toe is always first. And I'm going to turn it up just a little bit, like so. Hoping that the wire is not going to come through. Looks good. There's a knuckle on the top of the foot, the top of the toe. It's going to have a little bit more off. There's a certain look you're trying to get. Da-da, it's high here, da-da, and it slopes down. It's got a ton out right here. Then what's going to happen is the toes, not this big one, but the toes are going to go out and have some knuckles that come out like that. I'll show you. Now we're down to cutting the toes. And there are 4 to go. Make sure you count while you're doing it. 1, 2, 3, and yes, we have all our toes. I'm going to take my big stylist and I'm going to push in on this one to make a toe stem. This one goes in some also, but not quite as much. This one just gets rounded out some, and this one tucks under. And we'll go back and put the knife to it again so that we make sure it comes out on the front side. Okay. And you can spend a lot of time padding around on these, but okay, and remember that I've got very little clay on the edge of this. Look how thick it is over here, and very little here. And I've got a toe stem that tucks under. So what it's going to do, it's going to give us this little joint right there. See it? And you still got a little pad right here. And we're going to take it, and we're going to go up with it. Up with it. We're getting there. So I'm pretty locked in because I have that hard thing fired on the underneath side. So, and it's not moving, so luckily I had it all in the right place underneath before I fired it. If you're ever in doubt, just don't put much clay on the wire and then fire it, because sometimes it does get in the way if it's too bulky. Okay. It's still too big. I know from experience that it's too big right in this area right here, so I'm going to carve on it. Make it even more dainty. Keep it high right here and low right here. And cut quite a bit out, and it will still look right. And this comes out a lot more too. Shaping up. Okay, the toe, big toe, is going to have a line just like on your hands. You had one that goes out this way, and the little toe is going to have one that goes out that way. And for the center, you're going to have high joints, knuckles basically. I forget what they call them. That do a flat surface like so. It's already looking like a foot. And I need a separation here. Oh, that wire's a pain. Okay. We're going to have, this would be where our skin fold on the top of our hand would be, where our knuckles are, you know, and you've got a depression coming up through here, kind of like so. Then you've got, that's your knuckle there, rounded out kind of, top of the knuckle. This is what you get when you have skinny feet. Oh, these cute little feet. I love these little knuckle things. And that fat little toe on the end. I might fix that. It might be a little too fat when we're finished. You never know until you're into it a little further. Okay, and the bottoms of them, you're going to round those out, tip them up. Ooh, country toes. I can't put the toe up, big one, so can't do a good old boy kind of country boy thing like they do. Let's see how I'm going. Smoothing just a little bit so I can get a better reference here. Like, what the heck am I doing? Okay, this foot's going to be on the ground right here. So, the big toe will be turned up just a little bit, but not too much. It's got a depression here on the side. Remember I said there's a knuckle right here? Okay, and there's not a lot of clay or not a lot of flesh on the top of it once you make the turn right here. It thins out right here. Still too high. Too high to be believable. See, it's getting more dainty. If you can see that. Okay. And let's see, what do I want to do? I want to make this further down and further back and tipped up. And I go back and detail underneath these toes just a little bit. The nail toe, this thing is really, really good for, the nail tool is really good for this kind of stuff. kind of rounds things out when you drag through it. And you're going to want a toe stem on some of these toes. Not all of them are showing one. You know, this one in the middle definitely. And if you look at your foot, when you're looking straight down at it, you're going to notice that since this is all in an arch across the top and across the bottom, this is going to be deep, this is going to be deep, this is not going to be so deep, and this, oh, it's way up here. Uh-oh. Okay. The actual joint is here, and these are much deeper. So, now we've got a lot of planes to put in there where the knuckles go yet. So, okay, we got one here, one here. We're going to leave it turned up on the ends. And just like the fingers, you don't want it too wide through the center. So I'm seeing this, maybe this one toe in the center is just a little too fat. They're wider at the end. So that's what you kind of need to do. Change that a bit. Let me see. I can't take anything out of there because I got a wire in the way, or clay, and it needs to come out. You can carve it if you don't fire it too hard. Oh, you can even carve it hard. Carve it when you fired it too hard, come to think of it. Something about the clay never really sets up that good. It's pretty good. Looks like crap, but you know, the brush takes care of all this. Once again, we're going a little further down. See, now here's the arch I was telling you about earlier, where you're going high point here, go down, deep, 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 high point, another plane. You're going to end up with your nail bed on the surface going straight up, and the end of your toe angled up, like so. That's what you're shooting for. Okay, so I'm going to go clean up underneath here to make sure all these lay down pretty. This is a little too long. You want nice little round jelly beans on the bottom end. This can be a little bit back here. A little more on the end of the toe. Just add to that a little bit. Now, I've seen some men that have some really long toes. Goodness sake. Well, there's some women too. But, you know, so this thing would be much longer and the toe stem would be much deeper. But we're not going to take it quite that deep today. We're going to make it a little bit deeper. Like so. But see, the position of my doll, her toe is not straight out, so it wouldn't look as long. It's going to be a little bit shallow, more shallow. When you turn it, it changes the angle. But that'll work. Okay. I'm seeing that her heel kind of moved around on it. See? It's getting better. Okay. The rest is pretty much just a feathering and a few little things with the nail tool. And you're going to bring out some detail. This is more narrow right through here. I'm going to get rid of some of this clay. I'll try to anyhow. Here we go. There it is. There you go. The top of this is more defined with a lump there. And that little toe is too big. It's driving me crazy. Looks like it's been smashed up in a shoe for a long time. That's what she gets for wearing those tight high heels. I made it funny at home in case you want to laugh. Okay, here we go. Put a little more fancy stuff in here. What you say, huh? That's kind of how they look. Once again, you want to play with your nail tool, and you want to detail on those little toe stems. The bottom of the toe stems will be kind of like a finger. You're going to have a little depression right where it joins onto the pad. And this one won't be anything much because it's supposed to be down here more. And you don't even see this one, you just see a line only. Here you see a little bit of a hole on this between all of them like so, and a little bit of a nail toe stem on these only. And don't make that toe stem real fat. Narrow it so it goes up and out. Makes it look really deep there. That's the right way to do it. Hard to get in there. So you want a real deep. Because if you think about it, when the foot's angled high like that, the toe stem goes with it too. See, it's up high. Toe stem is way down here. It's curved. It's on a curve. Okay. The rest is done with a brush and a couple tiny little tools. Let me see if I can find a brush. Here we go. Now, this is flattened out here all the way across. You've got a space indicated in the center right there that goes all the way up. Remember, just like the hand, it has a fan like so. Don't make it too deep. It's not real feminine because you'd be showing veins and stuff if you'd be doing that, and you don't want that kind of look on a pretty lady doll. If you want that look, that's your thing, but it's not my thing. I'm keeping it simple. Different brushes do different things. I found that the best smoothing brush for bigger areas like this perhaps would be oil painting brushes, small oil painting brush with short bristles. And they go real fast. They leave a few little lines in it, but boy, they can make the clay move. This is even deeper than you think. Comes around there. Flattened here some. Still don't have it right. What am I doing wrong? Can make that deeper here. Yeah, I don't want it to look like a pocketbook here. Like sag to it. And there's all kinds of little things you could do on this too if you really look at your ankles. And if your foot's big enough, your doll foot's big enough, you can play with it. Angle this out just a bit. Yeah, I keep pushing that. For some reason I keep pushing it that way, but it's kind of cool if it's angled like this and you've got these two depressions on each side like so, and then your definition on the top. I do most of these little things with the back side of my blade. Makes a nice clean line, and you don't have to even go back over it and smooth it. But don't make it too deep, you know. Make it to where it might be believable. Okay, we're going to get to the nitty-gritty here, and the nitty-gritty being the nails in a moment. And on the ankle itself, we're going to narrow this. Still too high. You know, after a while you get to where you can see these things. You've got to get photos to work from. There is no other way. You can see how I'm doing it, but trust me, once you see a photo, you say, oh, that's what she did and what she did that for. And that's how you represent it in clay. Okay? I'm going to dip this down a little bit. I should be using a brush, but I'm not. Shame, shame on me. I'm finding that I'm catching some of that hard-fired clay underneath, and I can't get the detail I want. But it's still going to be pretty. See how cute that is so far? Toes probably a little bit long. I don't know. Maybe. And if they are and they bother you, tap them up. Make them rounder. Okay. Clean up in between the toes. Make everything, pat it round. See, this one's not. Let's go round on it, huh? Separate them again. Pat it up. This part right here is going to come down. Oops, I need the other tool. Down a little bit. This is going to be flattened out where the nail bed goes. You can start it, start the definition right there with your tool. You're blocking it in. And then before you start detailing all the little design and all the little nails and everything, go back and really be objective about it and say, well, have I got these toes all the same thickness, or is one too fat, or is this angled up too high? And you can find all kinds of things wrong if you really scrutinize it. Oh yeah. Too much clay in certain areas. See, I've got too much. If you turn it upside down, there you go. See, I can see it now. Couldn't see it before. I kept moving it around. Oh, that doesn't always work. It's not bad though. Nail tool, here you go. Okay, on the last leg of this, or last foot. Okay. Definition. I'm hurrying through it, trying to make the tape be a 2-hour tape. But you are getting it. I guarantee it. And all of the rest of it is take a little brush, not this one, the one with the longer stuff on it. It doesn't make a haggled mess. And sometimes you go over this and you think, I don't see a thing that this brush is doing. But it is not moving it fast. It's just moving it so you can pad down to round it out. Make sure that it's rounded at the top. See how a toe actually connects to it? You got a little thing on the top there. Wait a minute. If I can round this out just a smidge more. This can go up a little further. Get rid of the messy stuff in the middle between the toes. The brushes do it all. That is your saving grace, folks. On these brushes, this is a 10-0. It's 10/0, and it's by Lowell Cornell. It's a filbert brush. Filbert is a flat brush with a rounded top to it. That is the one you want. They don't cost that much. I sell them, but You can find them in any art store. Well, almost any art store. And we're getting close. I don't want to over-exaggerate this, but the little toe needs to go up more. It's not quite where it needs to be. Okay, it's better. Can you see that? Nail time. Now, the rest of this, you're just going to sit there and you're going to pad and round it out, and maybe take a little more clay out from underneath and get rid of all the little boo-boos and stuff. And that will probably do it. Nail tool. Where'd it go? There you go. Okay, first thing I want to do is lightly score a line on the big toe. Okay, and I'm seeing I got a little mess that it made, so here you go. Take it away. Now, there is a depression, not a knuckle, but there's a depression right here on your foot. That is a knuckle, but it's down in it. Okay? So, and then feather, feather, everywhere you go. Round that toe out, tip that toe up. See, just pat it and it rounds it out. Then take your sharp, spooge-free knife and make a nail. See, it's still a little high here, so this bothers me. This is unprofessional. You want it clean. You want it not real deep here and sticking up on the sides. It's got to look like a real nail. So take a little time and trim up around it if it's necessary. Oopsie, made a little mess. Okay, then since you've got that in there, there's a double line now. You can actually make the one that goes underneath here like so. Round out your toe again. And once again, take your little brush, smooth out things. Tip up. And these are going to be turned down on the sides, so the end of that nail bed is going to be in an arch like this. You don't want it straight across because that doesn't look real. Tip it up right in the center. And that looks kind of cool. This is a hard line. I've got it too deep. For those of you who want to know to do it right and professional, that is a beginner's line. Nothing should be deep on these things. They should all be natural looking. There's a couple little lines over here that need to be emphasized a little bit more, but that you can do that later. Okay, let's do the tops of the nails. And baby, that is all she wrote. We are almost done. Okay. Got a little bit, it's back in there. The tops of the nails on all of them. Now I'll come across with my blade and do the sides. Itty bitty bitty one. That one can just go by itself. You don't really need to do anything to it. I used to use the nail tool for the entire nail, but I find that this thing makes it a little more realistic too. Just get your blade in there. And do an underneath tap if the foot is big enough to do that too. Yep. Go back and connect the dots with your nail tool, the sides to the top. Make these deeper. can where you don't have clay in the way. And that is basically a foot. Just needs a little loving care and some time spent cleaning it up with a little brush. And I'll see you, folks, in the next video. Bye.